welcome back to your Valley Sports Plugs Heat Check Podcast. This is episode 29 of the Heat Check Podcast. We're recording this on Sunday, May 19th, 2024. I am, of course, your host, Chris Patrick, and I'm being joined today by my two beautiful co-hosts. First, the paralegal for Scottie Scheffler's lawyer, VSP Tallman.
I fucking called it.
You were close.
I called it.
You're not his lawyer. You're his lawyer's paralegal.
There you go. Oh, you could have just at least given me a little bit extra.
So Scottie's in some trouble, huh? You're working overtime right now?
Yeah, I sure am.
Busy day for you yesterday, man. That's for sure.
I got to be back in Louisville on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's wild. Well, be sure we're going to talk about it. So glad we have you here. Also joining us, our other co-host in third chair, Frank Vogel's limo driver, Michael Benjamin.
Hey, he's got to get around somehow, and I'm the man for the job. What's going on, fellas? How we feeling?
It's a good gig if you can get it.
Straight out of town.
Yeah, guys, we're going to definitely talk about that. We're going to lead with the Suns today. Obviously, Frank Vogel getting fired, Mike Budenholzer getting hired. What does James Jones' future look like? We're going to talk about the Arizona Cardinals. Their schedule just came out this week, so we know how all 17 games are going to look and the schedule for that. Marvin Harrison, we drafted him, and now he's being sued by Fanatics. Love those guys. And might touch on the Dbacks a little bit. They're in the early part of their season, still heading towards the middle of the season, and hasn't been a smooth road so far, fellas. And last, we'll finish out. Of course, we got Scottie Scheffler's lawyer's paralegal here. So we're going to talk about that incident and what happened at Valhalla in Louisville, Kentucky over this weekend. We just finished up watching that PGA championship major, whatever the fuck it is. What was it? Xander Schauffele? Schauffele. Excuse me. Yeah. I don't know, man.
Yeah, Mike made us waste money. Thanks, Michael.
Hey, it was worth it. It was exciting to the finish, wasn't it?
It's okay. We were using FanDuel Sportsbook, so if you're watching, sponsor us.
Sponsor us, FanDuel. Also, Slim Jim's sponsor.
Yeah, Slim Jim too.
Yeah, no, we were hoping for a playoff
and Coors Light.
Coors Light, Jesus.
Sorry.
we're grifting for trying to get all the sponsorships out here, but no, fellas, plenty to talk about. I love getting together once a month here for our in-person Heat Check podcast recording. We always get this out on all the streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you find podcasts, you can find us. And we get it up on our YouTube page, Valley Sports Plug. Type us in the search bar and you'll find Valley Sports Plug. While you're there, make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when we post new videos. We do bi-weekly recaps of the Cardinals, the Suns, and the Arizona Diamondbacks throughout their seasons respectively, as well as live streams. We usually get a 3 or 4 out every month. Try and go for once a week. Just depends on the schedule and how busy we are, but we're gonna keep bringing you content, that's for sure. And while you're there, if you can comment, let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you'd like to see. That'll help us out a lot as well. But fellas, let's go ahead and dive into this very first topic. The Phoenix Suns. Frank Vogel's limo driver, did you take him to the airport back to Los Angeles?
Skirt. Man, we head there as soon as possible, even before the announcement was really made. He was on his way out of town, even though he said he had the full backing of Matt Ishbia and James Jones. I think the writing was on the wall just with the complete inconsistency of this team, especially the second half. And to get trounced within the first round, obviously we know where Minnesota is right now. Going into Game 7 against the defending champs, they're a good squad, right? They're a good squad, but James Jones even said the lack of intensity from this team was a glaring problem, and it made this decision easy for them. So, I mean, when you have, what do we always say? When you have these expectations, if you completely fall short of it, there's going to be a fall guy. And I know Tallman was talking about how Frank Vogel ended up being that guy, and kind of not surprised at the end of the day.
No, I'm not surprised either. I think I was a little surprised that they took so long to let him go, but I think that probably had to do with, because they picked up Budenholzer pretty quick as far as the negotiations and getting that rolling. So you imagine there were probably some back-end talks with Budenholzer, seeing what the market was like for coaches out there, seeing who they might be able to get. So I can understand it from that perspective. Frank Vogel is still probably a better option than a lot of the other coaches that were available. But at the same time, I was thinking about this, guys. When we got Vogel and we brought him in last season, we weren't stoked about that hire. I mean, I thought it was a bit of a head scratcher. I can't remember off the top of my head what I thought a better candidate would have been, but Vogel obviously would bring the defense, but this is an offensive team.
It was Nick Nurse. That's who we wanted, right?
Well, that's who we wanted, but he ended up going to
the 76ers.
76ers, yeah. There you go.
I know Ty Lue was always the dream for a lot of Suns fans as well, but obviously he was still under contract with the Clippers. Sounds like they want to keep him long-term as well. But, fellas, I mean, I honestly might not be surprised if Mike Budenholzer was maybe the top candidate that they wanted last year too, but it sounded like he was kind of getting some things in the home situated before he was ready to come back in the NBA. At his presser, he talked about spending time with his family. His dad is getting up there. I think he's 94 years old as well. So spending some time with the family, taking care of his own health. And then they finally had the conversations and said, okay, Mike, we're ready for you. Are you ready for us? And
I'm ready for you, Mike.
The time has come. So I think the Valley is ready for this kind of a change right now.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, if anyone doesn't know, Mike Budenholzer was the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks, who defeated the Phoenix Suns in the finals not that long ago. So you bring in another guy with championship pedigree. I know Vogel's championship has a bit of an asterisk on it, being from that bubble era. So I think that might have added to me being a little bit skeptical of him in the first place. But we're moving on. I mean, Budenholzer, I like the hire. I like it a lot. I just recently learned that he's a Arizona kid, was from up north, and his dad was somewhat
Holbrook, Arizona.
Holbrook, right? Thank you. Yeah, Holbrook. And his
town.
His dad's somewhat of a Holbrook legend, also a basketball coach. So he's
for like 40,
been around
50,
basketball
forever, right? For a long time.
Yeah, they're like the
coach, 40 years.
They're like the Sammy Dwayne.
Yeah, there you go.
Of Holbrook.
Oh,
but no, so like obviously, like it seemed like from his press conference and everything. And Tallman, I want you to speak on this because you said I think you watched the whole introductory press conference, right?
Yeah, I listened to it. I mean, the guy seems like just a great candidate, right?
Like he's all in on Arizona.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? And then what I was surprised, and he even said, he's like, I did not expect Al McCoy to be here. And then Al McCoy did like a really awesome intro for him, and the whole time through the press conference, he was choking up, getting emotional. Mm-hmm. Someone asked him something about his dad, and he just like couldn't basically get any words out. But it sounds like like you were saying, he took that year off. He got his family in check, his health in check, and he's ready to keep coaching. And I think it's a great hire. But yeah, no, the whole Al McCoy thing, obviously, you grow up in a small town in Arizona. What's the team you're following? You're following the Suns, right?
Oh,
so,
definitely.
I mean, and he even mentioned, he's like, I know I'm probably in the wrong room here to be good at Suns trivia, but at any other state in the country, I'd probably win any sports trivia on the Suns. So the guy is, he couldn't, I mean, he's coming home, welcome home, Mike. Not you.
No, I've been here.
Yeah, don't go nowhere.
Yeah, but no, it was a good press conference, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think if I saw one of the takeaway quotes from that is he said something to the extent of that he would coach the Phoenix Suns anywhere, which means like
on the moon,
in Alaska,
yeah,
in Denmark, I think was another one he said too.
So, Mike, what were your biggest takeaways from that comment in particular?
I mean, he knows his roots and he's excited for it to come full circle. Like it's probably a dream that he's had for a very long time, especially when he got the opportunity to coach in the NBA. I'm sure it was something that he always held on to as a lifelong dream. I think he talked about how he used to embody Alvin Adams in his driveway and, talked about the greats like Dick Van Arsdale. So he knows what this franchise means, not only to the Valley, but to himself. And he holds it in that high of regard. So maybe it is a positive that he didn't jump right into it when the opportunity came last year, because he felt like he needs to give his all if this opportunity were to come around again.
That's
right?
a good point. Yeah.
So, I mean, fellas, off of this last season, it's hard to get truly excited about where the team sits right now, right? One of my favorite quotes that Bud said during the press conference is where we all sit right now, right? Talk is cheap, right? Yeah, we have 3 of the top 20, 25 players in the NBA, but guess what they didn't prove last year? That it can work together. So got to hold those guys accountable. He talked about how he wants to coach them, and those guys need to want to coach. Specifically the big 3 with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal, right? Talked about the point guard versatility as well. I don't know, Chris, you might maybe you could touch on how he said, we got to be able to know how to run this offense without a point guard. So that gives me a little bit cause for concern, but he also said, we're probably going to need to have one in here. So if it comes down to a second unit, he can have that kind of guy running the system and that kind of stuff. But lots of positives from the introduction press conference for Mike Budenholzer. It's always cool to see a Valley person become like the leader for a franchise, because when you've spent time in the Valley and it's your home.
Yeah.
You're just that much more invested in it. So it's a big, big win to start the offseason for the Phoenix Suns right now.
100%. I mean, having that level of buy-in from the guy you just brought on as head coach, like Vogel, he didn't do horrible, right? I mean, as far as like presenting as a coach, doing the coaching. One of the things I do want to touch on quickly though about Vogel, now that I'm remembering, did you guys see the story that Kevin Durant didn't talk to him for like the last 2-3 months of the season? Do you put that on Vogel or Kevin Durant?
Ooh, Tallman, you want to touch on that one first?
Well, I won't lie.
Okay, so
I did not see that. Go.
No. I want you to get your opinion, like this raw reaction. That would be great. But I think to add more context to it, this is going to be Kevin Durant's, I think, 5th head coach in 5 years, or something like that. At least 4 different head coaches. He had Steve Nash, then was Jacques Vaughn in Brooklyn, then Frank Vogel, or Monty Williams, Frank Vogel, and now Mike Budenholzer. So that kind of lends me to believe more that, I mean, to just drop my 2 cents, I think maybe that Kevin Durant is more the problem than the coach is. Or is he just picky and holds these guys to a high standard that they're not meeting?
I mean, the last 3 months?
I think it was 3 months. It was at least over 2 months, if I was remembering correctly. I could be totally wrong, but it was a significant amount of time where Kevin Durant just was not communicating with his head coach at all.
That's wild. There's a couple different ways you can look at it. I mean, first off, I just like to say I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that locker room just to see how the hell that went down. But at the same time, I mean, if you're a team player, which you would hope Kevin Durant is, right? I mean, you got to be a part of the team, right? You got to be open to what the coaching staff is saying, because you're not the coach, you're the player, right? It's just that saying of the inmates can't be running the prison, right? You need the coaching staff to be there and to organize and set you guys up for success. And it's debatable whether Frank Vogel was the best one for it. Obviously, he's not here anymore, so it's determined that he was not the best person for the job. But no, I think it relies on Kevin. I mean, you're the player, man. You can't just sit. It's like going to work tomorrow morning and saying to your boss, "Fuck you, I'm not talking to you." You can't do that, man.
Right.
You know, I'm not saying Frank Vogel is his direct. The coach is kind of your boss, right? That's the guy.
More or less. I mean, I don't think Frank Vogel has the ability to hire or fire players.
Yeah, but still, I mean, that's the guy in a leadership role.
He's like the manager. He's like a supervisor,
yeah,
if
he's
you will.
there to make sure everything's in order. So, but then you can put blame on both sides, right? So, I mean, and again, that's why I said the fly on the wall to see what actually happened, because we don't know. Was Frank just like, did he just lose control of it? I mean, it's pretty easy to believe that when you have 2 really big superstars, and then you have Devin Booker there, where he's like, well, this is my team, this is my town, you know, everybody is, you know, up so high on Devin Booker, right? I mean,
yeah,
he's the guy, he's the face of the franchise. So that's crazy. I missed that somehow, but I mean, I would say that's Kevin. That sounds like an attitude issue.
Yeah, and I think there is kind of what you're saying there is like a certain level of professionalism where it's like, this is your coach, whether you like it or not. The situation is not changing, especially by that point in the season with 2-3 months left or whatever it was. Like, you got to work with the situation you got. And Mike, I have to believe that Kevin Durant had some say in the hiring of Frank Vogel to begin with, right? You know, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are on any given night the number 1 player on the team, respectively. So those and James Jones, I'm pretty sure him and Eshbia said, like, yeah, we're going to talk to those guys, and we're kind of going to be a team decision, more or less. Like, we're going to value their input. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still going to be Jones or Ishbia's, and we can talk about Ishbia. But what was your takeaway from that?
So I mean, I'll answer your question first and foremost. Kevin Durant and Devin Booker have the sign off on what's going on with this team right now. Kevin Durant has basically kind of earned that within his time in the NBA, right? He's a top 75 all-time player, right? So you kind of have to appease to a certain extent. Now, there was a lot more fundamental problems with this team, right? I think a lot of people were starting to say that the disconnect happened around that Christmas Day game against the Mavericks when we got absolutely pounded.
Oh, yeah.
And then things really started to fall apart after that. And all of those nice runs that we might have had, those 7-3 splits, those were all flukes within the time frames, and nobody ever truly got on the same page properly. They were just winning because of their true talent as a team where they should have been no matter what. Right? Obviously, we don't know if it truly happened with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant likes to make those responses on Twitter and that kind of stuff. I haven't seen any of that, so I'm not sure. But wasn't the word that he was upset that a lot of the focus through the offensive sets were going through Devin Booker, which was another fundamental issue because the front office were the ones who forced Frank Vogel to keep Kevin Young on the staff to be that secondary coach who was going to run the offense. And what's he going to do? He's going to stick with his guy that he's gone through the ringer with for the last couple of years in Devin Booker and focus the offense through him because he's younger. He has been the face of the franchise. That's what your focus is going to be on. It makes sense, right? Now, in the grand scheme of things, Kevin Durant had, I think, the overall better year last year. So you needed to tinker. Yeah. You needed to make adjustments to make sure that he was getting into proper rhythm on the offensive floor instead of just fanning four out, passing the ball to the deep corner to Kevin Durant, and then basically everybody getting out of the way and saying, okay, 36-year-old Kevin Durant, let's see if you can still go one-on-one with everybody. Like, there was so many more fundamental disastrous points with this team, right?
Yeah.
But it also, if that is truly what happened, shame on Kevin Durant, man. I'll be upfront and honest. Shame on him. You've been such a high standard that people would say for how you perform on the basketball court. You got to do it in all facets when you start getting older in this league because you have to start teaching these other guys who are going to take the mantle up. But my last point, what has Kevin Durant also said? He's not a leader. Yep. So
thank you.
That's what's going to happen. He's kind of central-minded. If it didn't go his way, he might not talk to the coach for 2 months. So that's absolutely absurd. If it truly did happen, it shows with the way that this team finished this year in the playoffs. I don't care about the last 10 games of the regular season, right? No. I don't care about it. I care about how you perform when it's go time. And those guys did not. So disappointing, man. And, you know, my biggest thing is always uniformity and growth together. Because that's where the teams that are being successful right now, those teams have done it. And when you're a consistent revolving door, it takes more time to get where you need to go. And we know this team is running out of time with the pieces that are heavy on the top end.
100%. And I think, Mike, you hit a lot of nails on the head there. I mean, from this team not having a leader, it needing to be either Kevin Durant or Devin Booker, and neither of those guys really showing that they were stepping up and taking the helm. I mean, I just go back to the Frank Vogel hire in the first place. Like, did he improve our defense last year? Absolutely. You can't deny that. The Suns played better defense than they have in this probably Devin Booker era, if we're being completely honest. But the offense was the detriment was on the offense, where Frank Vogel is known to not be an offensive-minded coach, and we saw it time and time again. I mean, Mike, you and I have talked about it on Past the Outlet. Like, the defense or the offense just looked like it had no direction, no plays, nothing set up. Turnovers were piling up left and right, and there were times when I think the game looked worse than the box score or the stat sheet, to where it's like, dang, this was ugly, but we didn't do as bad as we could have. And even against Minnesota, we saw a lot of splits where field goals, rebounds, steals, all that were really similar, but it was like the free throws and the three-pointers that really ended up burying us in the end. And so I just think, like, when you have such an offensive-minded team and leaning that way, when Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are probably top 20, top 25 scorers in this league, it's just a failure of leadership to bring in. And again, maybe there wasn't a better option than Frank Vogel, but it does, aside from the coaching leadership or the front office, we can blame Ishbia as well for how he's kind of railroaded James Jones. And I think James Jones in a lot of ways is becoming we keep saying the fall guy or the scapegoat, where it's like James Jones, like you said, Tallman, before we were launching the show here, is that James Jones put together that team that got to the finals with Chris Paul, Mikal Bridges, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, you know, all those guys. And then the second Ishbia gets in here, he makes a trade for Kevin Durant. In the offseason, we end up getting rid of DeAndre and we bring in Yusuf Nurkic. And all these guys, like, we were so stoked. Like, yeah, we hit free agency so hard. We got all this great role player in this depth. 90% of those guys were gone by the trade deadline. Yuta Watanabe, like Keita Bates-Diop, those guys were just gone. And it's like we didn't get what we thought we would out of them. And I think we need to stop worrying so much about the bench, and we need to focus on the starting five and the leadership of this team, where there has to be a direction. I know I'm like all over the place here right now, but I think all this to say is, like, I agree with your sentiment, Mike, that it is on Kevin Durant that, yeah, you might not want to be a leader, but bro, you're 36, 37 years old. You've been in the league for twice as long than most of these guys' career will ever last. So you have to step up, share your wisdom, share your knowledge, and take charge. And I don't know if Devin Booker, because like we've seen him. He has that dog. He has this fight in him. He'll chirp back. He'll talk. He'll play aggressive. But like, is he not able to translate that into motivating his team? And like, I'm not saying you have to give like some Spartacus speech in the locker room, but like some level of mentorship goes a long way. So I mean, just to kind of recap from the top, Frank Vogel hire was kind of a mess to begin with. This last season, we can throw it away. But now with Mike Budenholzer, you have an offensive-minded coach, a guy who's been to the mountaintop in a real season, went to a championship, coached a superstar with a language barrier with Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, I know he speaks good English. He's fine. But, like, there's some cultural differences there. I mean, I'm pretty sure Giannis was instrumental in the ouster of Mike Budenholzer, if I'm not mistaken. So, in a sense, I think that is equally concerning as well as calming, where it's like, on one hand, he does have the experience of coaching a guy of that caliber, but on the other hand, a guy of that caliber saw his ouster. And so that's concerning. But at the end of the day, we're just going to have to wait and see how it goes up. But I want to ask you, Tallman, to kind of get me off the mic here. Are you more optimistic now with Budenholzer and the season going forward? Like, I guess if you could get in a time machine and go back to this time last year, do you think you were more optimistic last year about the coming season or right now about the coming season? I guess it's hard to say if you didn't know.
Yeah, all right, get the hell off the mic.
All right.
What the hell are you doing? Jeez. Actually, I was more optimistic last year because this year, from a roster standpoint, what changed? Nothing, right? So you're coming in and you're hoping that the X's and O's guy, granted, I know that's not, you know what I'm saying.
I get you.
The X's and O's guy is different, but yeah, he's offensive minded, which, you know, with a team with this roster is so offensive heavy that, you know, you hope that's gonna translate right into W's and hopefully a much better season. But I don't know. It's hard for me to say I'm more optimistic now because Frank Vogel was the fall guy. You know, you're not going to blame any of the big three. You can't get rid of any of the big three. No one wants any of those contracts. You know, you want Bradley Beal's contract? He has no trade clause. You know, you think one of the 5 teams Bradley Beal wants to go to are going to take on him at $50 million after he averaged 10 points a game?
I forgot about the no trade clause.
Yeah, you know, no. So you're not going to sit here and blame one of your top 3 players that you're paying. Those 3 guys are making more than, 12, 13 teams salary cap or team salaries in the league. Like, no. So the easy one was, we're going to get the new coach. We're going to blame it on Vogel that we didn't have the plan, which is crazy because they're going to pay Vogel $40 million to walk away or something? Because he had 5-year deal.
It was 5-year, $31 million or something.
So he's still going to get paid for 4 years. And on top of that, I'm pretty sure they're still paying Monty as well.
I think you might be right. Yeah. So not only was it the easy...
Maybe.
Well, I was going to say,
not.
yeah, Monty probably does. I don't know how it works when it comes down to them signing
Once
another
you get
contract.
a new contract. That's a good point. Yeah,
that's old news. But
it's neither here nor there. Sorry, Tallman.
No, you're good. So that was the easy way to go, and it was the cheapest, right? Because you'd be eating some money if you cut one of those guys, right? Which you're not going to.
Oh, you can't. No.
Yeah, and then also, like, you're sitting there. You have Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. You can't, after 1 year, just blow it up. You got to try it again, right? But at the same time, you can't run it back with Vogel because what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So
great point.
And then,
great point.
Yeah, and then just where the whole season went, you can't say, you know what, we're going to start over, start fresh. Frank Vogel's going to stay. You know, let's try to figure it out this season, guys. No, you got to bring in a new dude. And again, we don't know what was said in the locker room. We don't know how Kevin Durant really feels is real. We don't know if Chad Ochocinco was lying on Shannon Sharp's podcast or not about Kevin Durant wanting to go to Miami. So you don't know. So you don't know. You can't believe everything you read. But
yeah,
at the same time, it's like you had to get rid of Vogel. Budenholzer coming in is great. Obviously, they had their hands in, them being Durant and Booker, on, you know, who was going to be the next guy at head coach. But no, again, so no, I'm not. I'm less optimistic this season than I was last season because I was just so crazy about the big 3. But then maybe big 3s don't work. It's all about the big 2s. I think
it depends on what position they're playing too.
Yeah, true. I mean, look at the rest of the league, man. It's all about the big 2s.
Yeah.
Were we really expecting that we were going to mid-range everybody to death? I mean, good Lord.
Yeah, two of your big three play the exact same position.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to answer the same question, Chris.
Sure.
So I'm with Tallman. Let's be honest. Our expectations and our high value that we held for this team was way higher than they are right now for last year, right? It was truly after you trade Chris Paul for basically pennies on the dollar to bring in Bradley Beal, even though his contract has now hamstringed us, you're looking at more of the positives because he was younger. You're getting more athletic at that position, blah, 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 blah. It obviously didn't work. Now, the one thing that I am more optimistic in right now, because the easy thing to say is, I'm not going to make a decision yet because I don't know what the team looks like. I don't know what decision. I'm not trying to mock you. I'm trying to mock a lot of other people and that kind of self, right?
No, I got you.
Where I think myself, where I would normally back in the day come up and say, we got to see what the team looks like. Then I'll think about it. The truth of the matter is Mike Budenholzer wins games, and he wins games in the regular season. He's at 60% of a clip, right? Mm-hmm. So I am more optimistic that no matter what pieces he has in here, we should finish with a top 4 seed and have some kind of home court advantage in the playoffs. That's what I'm optimistic about, because this is what this fucking team needs. They can't go on the road trying to win games in the playoffs. They just can't. They're too old, man. They're too old. They're too injury prone.
Yeah.
That's just the truth, right? You got to win games in the regular season, set yourself up for success to have games in front of your home fans in the playoffs for a team like this.
Well, and within that, we need to see them come out and treat every game exactly the same. We saw so many examples last season where I felt like they played down to their competition, where we know on paper this team is really fucking good, and some nights it seemed like there was significantly less intensity than others. But that aside, Mike, I do want to ask you along the same vein that you guys are talking in is what level of roster turnover can we expect in this offseason with how hamstrung we are, handcuffed, whatever the fuck you want to call it?
They're going to have to, because I know a lot of these player option guys aren't going to come back. I don't think you bring back Eric Gordon.
Fuck no. I wouldn't want Eric Gordon back in a fucking Suns
obviously
jersey.
You re-signed Grayson Allen to the long-term deal. I love that deal for us.
Yeah.
Right? I love it.
Find a way to bring O'Neal back.
Royce O'Neal should come back. And then what they were saying that Drew Eubanks might opt into his player option. But those are the things. Sure, you can opt into your player option, Drew. We're going to make sure we get some other backups. Like, we're going to make sure that you're not the focal backup.
You'll be the reserve or the.
I think they're a little bit smarter and understanding that kind of stuff. The big thing, dude, is we'll see. It sounds like they're bringing in that executive from the Nets, Mark Tellum, who apparently is the salary cap guru, one of the top guys of the NBA. So it's funny, man. Like,
sweet.
At least the Suns aren't blind to where they put themselves, right? They're going out and finding somebody who can get strategic within the salary cap because of where they put themselves, and maybe try and work some things around and, have a better set roster to go into next season with to win 55 games. Like, that's what you're going to need. So there's still going to be a lot of turnover, I expect, this offseason. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple point guards at least going into training camp to see who might stick around.
They got to try something.
I don't know if one of them is going to be a starter or not. I don't know if you have the ability to do that unless they do trade off their other draft picks. I think this year is finally coming up, as well as 2031, something like that.
Yeah.
Because the language within the CBA is basically you can't trade your first round picks consecutive years, right? Until something else happens.
I think
so
you can
it's like
swap.
Now you can't
I think you can do the pick swaps, but I don't think you can do like a straight trade.
So then if they go that route and they do get a starting point guard in here, that could be the case. But there's still going to be a lot of moves that need to be made this offseason.
Without a doubt, Mike, there are a ton of moves that this team has to make and a lot of roster decisions that are going to come down. And I'm interested to see. I mean, it seems like they're shaking up a lot. I saw that Mike Budenholzer doesn't intend to keep any of the staff from last season, or it's going to do like a full evaluation, see who he brings in. So not to say that none of those guys are coming back depending on how it goes, but right now it seems like nobody's job is safe as far as the coaching staff goes. And from the roster perspective, figuring out what James Jones' role is going to be going forward and what other executives we're going to bring in. I don't know. I think what troubles me the most is how heavy-handed Ishbia is. Like, yeah, he brings a big bag of cash with him, but it seems like he wants a lot of decision-making power in the front office, which I don't know. I think we had another owner who liked to have his hand in the decision-making process a lot too. So I like owners that let the guys they hire run the business. So I want to see a little bit more of that from Ishbia, but we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. It's going to be a long off season for the Suns. But guys, another team that's in the off season right now, gearing up for their season in a couple months, is the Arizona Cardinals. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I know Tallman's excited.
That wasn't exciting enough. Let's go. Come on. Bring it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, a little muted. Don't clip the mic or anything. I like that.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't want to get in trouble.
You would get in trouble too. I mean, you're finally talking into the mic. You're enunciating. You're cutting down the ums and the ahs.
Hey, that's it. I'm not going.
We're very proud of you,
Yep.
Tallman.
We are. We are
Awesome.
proud
Thank
of
you, guys. I couldn't. All right, I needed that compliment to get through the rest of my day.
Perfect. But I know you love talking Arizona Cardinals. Probably your favorite, second only to the Arizona Diamondbacks. But the Cardinals, they just got their schedule released. We already knew their opponents, but now we have the full schedule released. And Mike, you were going to break that down for us, right?
Let's do it.
Break
Obviously,
it down.
we've known for a couple of months who their opponents were going to be, right? But now it is finally here, one of the best days of the year, because then we start to figure out, especially now, which away game we're going to go to. We might have to break that down a little bit. But, fellas, to start off this season, I think it's going to be a tough first probably 5-6 weeks to start the season. It's really going to be...
We doing wins and losses?
No,
not yet.
We have
No,
to wait
no.
until we
Tallman,
get
you always
closer
want to
to the
do it
season.
early.
How about we do an early
Time out.
one and we see how it changes before the
Tallman,
season?
you can do
Jesus
an early
Christ.
one, and then we'll critique it
Fine.
for you. How about
All right,
that?
cool.
But so we're starting off on September 8th in Buffalo against the Bills. Then we got 3 straight home games against the Rams, the Lions, and the Redskins. Jaden Daniels,
The Redskins?
Hey,
And
you
Cliff
can't
Kingsbury?
say that word anymore, Mike.
Cliff Kingsbury.
You can't call them the Redskins.
They'll always be the Redskins.
They'll always be
Sorry,
the Redskins.
the Washington
Redskins.
Commanders. My fault. Then we're going to Santa Clara to play the 49ers and Green Bay on October 13th. That'll be a fun one too. And then we have our one and only primetime game of the year, asterisk, fake primetime game, because you got to have ESPN Plus to watch the damn game. Crazy. But that'll be at home against the Los Angeles Chargers. Hey, at least I got that one right. I could have did San Diego
Chargers.
but-
I've done that.
Then we're heading to Miami to play the Dolphins. Then back for our final 2 games before the bye at home. Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears.
Ooh, baby.
And Aaron Rodgers and the
Aaron
New York
Rodgers.
Jets.
If he
Discount
doesn't
double check.
blow out his other Achilles
That-
on
That's very
Sunday
true.
Night Football.
That's very
Monday
true.
Night Football, excuse me.
So then, like I said, then we have week 11 bye. I don't know about you guys, but I love that spot right there.
That's
Yeah,
perfect.
That's good. Yeah.
Basically, almost right in the middle of the
Not
season.
too high, not too low.
Then you get to go on a nice stretch
Goldilocks.
where you honestly got to start stacking wins after the bye, right? We're going to Seattle, then Minnesota, then we come back home against Seattle again and the Patriots. Then we go to Carolina against the Panthers. Then the final 2 weeks will be at Los Angeles Rams and home against the San Francisco 49ers. Oh, fellas, I got a lot to think about when it comes down to looking at this schedule, going on the road, some of these tough games. The beautiful thing is it doesn't look like we're going to have to go and play in really rainy, cold Pittsburgh or Philadelphia at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So the weather is working in our favor here, but man, excited, really, really excited to see how this thing fleshed out and where this team could be going this year, man. You know, there's a lot of people who are already talking about, is it playoffs or bust? I don't know. Let's pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah.
There you go. Pump
I
the
mean,
brakes.
I just looking at the schedule and just thinking about the 30 teams in the league. It's crazy to me. I feel like this is the
32.
32. It's 32. I always get it mixed up. 30 in the NBA, 32 in football,
Major League Baseball.
30.
30 in baseball.
30 in baseball, 32 in football.
Yeah.
I think
And
there's
then
32 in
Football
NHL,
twice.
right?
Yes,
Well,
30.
no, 0 in NHL. We don't care about NHL.
Locally, we don't because we
Yeah,
don't
we
have a
don't care.
team, right?
There you go.
But yeah, I know this schedule is not easy, guys, if we're being completely honest about it. It's not the easiest schedule. Now, I know the NFC West is not as strong as it has been in years past. Of course, Matthew Stafford back with the Rams. We expect the 49ers to remain somewhat of the powerhouse that they have been. But the Seahawks, like, we used to fear the Seahawks. We used to hate playing Russell Wilson and the Seahawks not that long ago. And I'm not here to get nostalgic, but this current team, like, I think those 2 Seahawks games are winnable for us. Like, I'd say we're pretty much on even footing with them, and we have the more established quarterback in theory, right? We really like what Kyler Murray did at the end of last season and are optimistic for the season he has ahead of him, especially the weapons we've added and the development we've had from players that were already on the team. I'm thinking more specifically of guys like Trey McBride, Greg Dortch. Those guys have really stepped up on the offense. But yeah, this schedule, I kind of love it, man. Like, you got 3 games at home to start the season after that game with the Bills. So that's a great opportunity to cut down travel, have good practices, get good rest, and be putting your best foot forward on game day. A couple of the other ones that stand out for me is, like, when we're in Minnesota at the Vikings, they do have Justin Jefferson. They have a really good team, but who are they rolling out at quarterback this season?
It's got to be JJ, right?
JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
So you're going against a rookie quarterback, especially by that point in the season. Even if they start with a veteran player, I don't know who else is on their roster.
I don't know.
So you're probably against JJ McCarthy. Yeah, he did win the championship with the Michigan Wolverines and really improved his draft stock from there. But we've seen countless examples of guys that crush it in college and they can't translate their game to the NFL. And I'm not saying that's going to be JJ McCarthy, and that's not what we're talking about. But overall, top down, like, I'm really not mad at this schedule at all, because even later in the season, yeah, you have 2 road trips there with Seattle and Minnesota, but then you're at home for 2 games against Seattle and the Patriots. So those 2 division games at the end, I think, are going to be the most crucial, especially if we want to try and be one of those teams. I'm not saying worst to first, but, like, worst to playoffs. Playoffs? Guys, I guess that'll be my question here.
God.
And Tallman, I'll ask you, is the playoffs unrealistic for the Arizona Cardinals this season?
No, it's not. Absolutely not. NFL, it's that type of league, dude. You don't tank like you do in Major League Baseball for 3, 4, 5 seasons. You don't do that. The talent is just too big. The draft is, if you hit in a draft, you can turn it around. You can go from worst to not necessarily first, but a top 10 team in just one season, right? Granted, this would not be one season. Last season was our kind of throwaway year.
Sure.
But there's no reason why we can't do it, right? I mean, you're getting Kyler Murray back. He gets to go through all the offseason programs. He gets to go through training camp. He's fully healthy. You know, you had a pretty killer draft. I mean, if you hit on those draft picks and everything feels in right, this is going to be a completely different team. And then you saw what Gannon did with what he got out of such a low-level talented level team last season. Like, these guys are fighting for him, man. And then you throw in everybody we've added in free agency, who we got in the draft, Kyler Murray being healthy. Like, this, we could shock the world this season, definitely. But looking at the schedule, though, I mean, there's 2 things that you look at when the opponents are when your opponents come out, and then when the actual schedule comes out. You look at what elite quarterbacks are we playing. Are the Cardinals playing in cold weather late in the season, right? Because we know how these desert guys do in their domed arenas, how they do in Buffalo, Green Bay, late in the season, right? And starting with the weather, we couldn't have had a better week 1 opponent. Okay, so we're in Buffalo, week 1.
Beautiful.
In
Going to be
September.
beautiful.
Love it.
It's great. That's awesome. That is great for us.
The worst one is going to be Carolina. I think
it's
the only one.
That's
the only one.
It's going to be a little nipply, but Bills is great. So yeah, I mean, you mentioned starting off with the Bills, dude. The Bills got worse.
100%. That's why it's crazy.
Yeah.
Right now, I think the Cardinals are like 7-point underdogs, which I think is absurd.
That's great. So you come out week 1. No expectations, on the road in Buffalo. The Bills did not get crazy better, right? We could beat them, shock them. We could take that momentum and just run with it to start the season, right? So, I mean, granted, if we were doing the win-loss challenge right now, I'd probably give them an L. But that's great. That's exactly where you want that game to be, right? To give you the best chance to not have to battle that weather and whatnot. And then the Green Bay one was the other one. You're going to Green Bay in October. The weather in Green Bay in October, it's a high of 60, low of 40. That's not bad for us, right? You want to go in December? No, you don't.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And then, so those were the two big ones. Obviously, the Miami one was another one. Is like you don't want to play Miami week 1.
No,
right?
It's still gonna be hot.
It's gonna be hot. It's gonna be humid. It's gonna be awful, right? Granted, we're used to the heat out here, but it's a dry heat. Out there, the humidity is just absolutely killer. So it was great to get. I mean, you'd want to go to Miami in December, but you got them late October. That's fine. That's not bad at all. But another thing, going to my number 2 one was what elite quarterbacks are we playing? What elite quarterbacks are we playing, guys? Obviously, Josh Allen. Okay.
Yeah.
Are we gonna call
Aaron Rodgers?
We're gonna call Aaron Rodgers an elite quarterback.
He hasn't played in 2 seasons.
All right, are we gonna call Matthew Stafford an elite quarterback?
He's old as fuck.
Are we gonna call Jared Goff the $150 million man?
He might be the best.
I was gonna say he just got paid like he is.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Brock
know
Purdy. Is Brock Purdy
that
elite?
was exactly where I was gonna go. I would say he's pretty good.
Relax
you guys
over there.
would not.
Both of y'all relax over there.
Okay. What about Justin Herbert?
Absolutely
Jordan
not.
Love?
Absolutely not. Jordan Love did take a major step forward last year.
What about
Packers should be better
What
this
about
year,
head damage to a Tagovailoa?
Tua's a game manager. He's up there with Brock Purdy.
And then you got Geno. I mean, so another thing that jumps out at me, you guys realize that we're playing 4 of the 5 top quarterbacks
I love
that were
it.
drafted?
That's awesome,
It's
dude.
beautiful.
Isn't
That's
that
great.
awesome?
amazing.
So you get to see the Bears and Caleb Williams. You get to see our boy Jaden Daniels, Cliff Kingsbury, and the Commanders.
Cliffy boy.
Yeah, and then Drake May and the Patriots, and then who are we sprinkling? Oh, like we already said, JJ McCarthy.
JJ McCarthy.
So
There's
and those guys, they're gonna start right away. Caleb's starting right away.
yeah.
Jaden's gonna start right away. Patriots don't have anybody else. They shipped off Mac Jones.
Is Michael Penix Jr. going to start right away?
No, he's not. Yeah, so granted,
There'd be a riot.
we're not playing the Falcons.
You're right.
And then JJ, who do they have? The Vikings have who they trade for? Sam Darnold, or was it Sam Darnold? Or no, they didn't trade for him. They signed him to a 1 year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So McCarthy's probably going to start right away, right? So you're going to play 4 rookie quarterbacks.
How many MILFs are in Minnesota?
I mean, it'll be cold.
No,
by that
that's
time.
that's not Sam Darnold. That's
You said
That's-
Sam Darnold.
That's
Zach.
Oh, Zach Wilson.
Zach
Oh,
Wilson. Yeah,
he's in
Zach
Denver
Wilson.
other
now.
Jets quarterback.
He's
Other
gonna have
former
sex
Jets
with your
quarterback.
mother.
The young gravy of the NFL.
Yeah, there you go. Excuse my language on that last one.
Well, no, hold on. The beautiful thing is the top 3 quarterbacks, right? With Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May, they all have to come here, too.
Is that
That's
so?
a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah.
That's a great point.
So
That's a fantastic point.
Not only
Yeah.
is it your rookie year trying
Commanders
to kind
here,
of get
Bears
involved
here.
within the NFL game, then you got to go on the road and prove it as well, where this team has
Yeah.
improved mightily this offseason from their draft picks. Go and check out our last Heat Check Live, man. We did a full breakdown of the entire draft. But yeah, that's great. And obviously we were one of the worst teams, so we were going to get a little bit more of a favorable schedule.
Sure.
But there's still a lot of tests to start this season, man. So it's going to be a real eye-opener through those first 6-7 weeks, I think.
Yeah, and then the other third thing you look at is where does the bye week hit? And the bye week is perfect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, week was what'd you say? Week 11. That's
Yep.
that's perfect. That's right where you start getting into that full grind of the season. People are getting banged up, and you
You're
get
gonna
that,
need guys
you
to
get
get
that
healthy.
time off.
Yeah.
Right at the perfect time. Because last season we had it late, right? Was it 13? Last season,
Something.
13, 14.
I mean,
it was late.
You know that James Conner is going to be injured by week 11. You know it. You know it.
Well, he's going to be hurt probably before that because this team's going to be running the football a lot. I'm telling you right now, we're going to be running the football a lot.
Well, okay,
he's going to have a lot of carries by week 11.
So, Tallman, not to derail you here, but
Go ahead. No, I was done.
This kind of reminded me of the topic that I actually think we were going to lead with the Arizona Cardinals, talking about the running game and the running backs for the Arizona Cardinals. We got news this morning, Sunday, May 19th, that former Arizona Cardinal David Johnson has announced his retirement at the age of 32, I believe.
32, yeah. Mike, do you still... There was a David Johnson jersey I gave you, right?
Yes, I still have it. Now
Okay,
that
all right.
now
All right.
that his now that his playing days are done, we might have to bust that one out and put it in the rafters and hang it up for him. Our sweet, sweet Prince David Johnson. Let's not forget.
He's such a good guy, though.
But let's just not forget how incredible of a player he was for the Arizona Cardinals, too. Absolutely instrumental in his rookie year for our 2015 run to the NFC Championship, and then just a fantasy darling. Chris, you could say that for sure. I think he took him,
maybe
2 or 3 seasons first overall, or your keeper.
Then he got hurt.
But I think wasn't it his 2016 where he set the franchise record for 20 touchdowns or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
He was a stud, and that was when we were starting to fall apart at the seams a little bit, but he still carried the weight and was an absolute superstar
reliable.
For us.
He was a guy you could rely on.
Yeah, and he could catch the football too. I mean, he was a spark, absolute spark.
There's just not many guys like Derrick Henry who last for 8-9 seasons anymore, right? That's where the NFL running back game has gone, right? You don't have guys that stick around for too long. So not surprised that he wasn't with the Cardinals his entire career, or more than really 3 truly great seasons, but they were great seasons.
They were, and he was absolutely the heart and soul of that offense for a little bit. But I mean, a 3rd round pick, and I remember when Kai made that pick, we were like, "What? Who? Huh? Who?" So, but you have a 3rd round pick, you get all that production out of him, and then you're able to turn around and turn him into DeAndre Hopkins. It's just great. So
yeah, and that was what we were talking about, right? Is like how we absolutely, what's the right word? We owned. I'm trying to not be too vulgar here, but we absolutely. We won. No, I can't. We won. We won the trade against the Houston Texans. We physically assaulted the Houston Texans to get the DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson, because
I think I know what you were gonna say.
Yeah, I think anyone might be able to read between the lines. It's gamer talk. If you know gamer words, that's what I wanted to say there. That's not important. But what I'm saying is, David Johnson didn't give. I mean, we can look at like what happened with DeAndre Hopkins as like a bad thing, and like, damn, he really wasn't. He didn't get us anywhere at the end of the day. But I think he produced more value for DeAndre Hopkins produced more value for the Cardinals than David Johnson did for the Texans. So at the end of the day, I still think that trade was a win, and I don't think I would regret it in any context.
Yeah, because we gave up Johnson and a 2nd and a 3rd next year for Hopkins and a 4th. So we gave up some draft capital, but I mean, to get Hopkins, the clear-cut number 1 receiver, I mean, that was a win. That was a win in everybody's book.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
You kind of have to think about DeAndre Hopkins has probably a top 3 play in Arizona Cardinals history as well.
Is
so
that
that's
the Hail Murray.
Hail Murray, yeah.
Absolutely.
So I mean,
that was great. That was against the Bills, right?
That was against the Bills.
Against the Bills.
That was in COVID. Whenever I think it might have been one of the first games back where everybody was in the stadium, like sitting like every 4 rows and like had to sit like within 8 seats in between. But you have to think about where we've come from in a franchise that has never won a Super Bowl as well. So we have to take those kind of moments in a little bit higher regard, right? So in the grand scheme of things, and we've talked about DeAndre Hopkins when he finally left too, right? We've given him his shine and that kind of stuff. But he was
mean as well.
He also was a big catalyst within that year when we started 7-0, 8-0, and then AJ Green didn't turn around and we never recovered from that. So
I was at that game against Aaron Rodgers on Thursday Night Football.
In the grand scheme of things, a win is a win for the trade, right? We got one on the Texans. Now it seems like they got one on us just from where we ended up taking this last pick.
Yeah.
But I'm very hopeful for Darius Robinson. I think he fits a huge need on this defensive line. So it could end up becoming a wash, but we already know Will Anderson is a stud.
Yeah.
So it's, man, I guess going all the way back to it, our sweet prince, David Johnson, man, congrats on an awesome career, and hopefully he finds his way back to the Valley so we can give him some love, because that's what we love to do. That's what we want to do, man, for the people that were such high character guys and meant a lot to this franchise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, despite how it ended with David Johnson and kind of an unceremonious exit from Arizona, he's still a Valley legend to some extent. I mean, he did provide, like you were pointing out, like that great catalyst, that run game that we could rely on through that Carson Palmer era, and getting to the NFC Championship game. We couldn't have done it without David Johnson. So got to give him his flowers, got to pay respect where respect's due. And again, like you said, yeah.
I was going to say, do you guys have a top David Johnson play or top David Johnson moment? Putting you on the spot
You
here.
really are, dude.
I don't know if it's a top moment, but
It's
one
of his kick returns.
One that I immediately
a
thought
rookie.
of was, I think it might have been in his last season here. We were playing the Steelers at home in Arizona, and we know we're not going to get into the whole conversation of the transplant nature of Arizona, but there was a lot of black and gold in State Farm Stadium, and he made some comment about it not really feeling like a home game, and there was a picture of him scoring a touchdown in front of a bunch of Steelers fans, and yeah, I think that stood out to me because he kind of, and that was at a time where he kind of saw the writing on the wall of his days being numbered with Arizona, and knowing that he was probably on the outs after that season. And I know that's not a highlight. That's just one thing that sticks out in my memory.
So you asked that question, so you obviously have one.
Oh yeah,
All right, go.
I got 3. So one of
Oh, he's got
hold
three.
on. The one that you were talking about is that kick return against Chicago,
Was
right?
that
Where
what it
we
was?
killed
Okay.
them.
Yeah. I remember.
I think
I
another
couldn't
one.
give you the details. but-
Another one was when he had that hurdle in Carolina. You guys remember that one where he 2-footed straight over the top of his guy? Chris, put it in the YouTube video if you can.
I'll try. Yeah, I'll do what I can.
If you could do that. And then number one has to be when we went to Philadelphia and we clinched the NFC West, and he had that bulldozing touchdown run. I think it was like 48-yarder. Unfortunately, we lost Tyrann Mathieu in that game, which basically kind of turned the tides for that season. But yeah, lots of fond memories of David Johnson and those runs, man. And, I hope excited for him to see what comes next for him in the future, whether it's, something within football or, who knows. But always will be a Valley legend. That's for sure.
Yeah. I got a lot of love for David Johnson. I mean, we've seen so many guys come and go, and an NFL career is so short-lived. So to even have a career as long as David Johnson did is impressive, and I think he definitely deserves all the respect, despite how things ended with Arizona and his swift decline from grace. Still a great player in the whole pantheon of Cardinals players. But while we're still talking about the Cardinals, I know Tallman is eager to give his predictions on the schedule, and we always do that around, I think, August. Our August Heat Check podcast
Yeah, August.
is when we dive into all of it. We make sure to get that out before the season starts, because now with the season, does it start in September or end of August?
First week of September.
September 8th will be the first
September
game.
8th. There you go. And also around that same time in August, not only are we going to give our predictions here on the Heat Check podcast, but we're also going to live stream the Valley Sports Plug Fantasy Football Draft.
Oh, baby.
We do that live. We had a guest host last year. Shout out Chevin. He did a great job of hosting that for us. Formerly
He did really
of
good.
Dynasty Rewind.
Really good.
He's a free agent right now. We've been trying to bring him over to the Valley Sports Plug family.
Jeb, we have a chair. There's a chair right here. For
There's
you.
a fourth chair right over here.
You just
got
got to bring your own mic, okay?
Hey, shout out Chev, but also shout out AZ Chris, who won this last year.
Oh,
Got to give him
That's
his
right.
props.
And
Gotta give him
this
his
is our
props.
fantasy football trophy right here. My wife Sabrina has done some engraving on it. She's got some work to do. I think she's a few seasons.
Show the
behind.
front. Show the front.
We got Kyler Murray in his heart rate monitor sports bra.
No, it's
And,
just a bra.
It's just a bra.
There's no medical part to it. He's just... I don't have another word to say. That's
Love
it.
that guy. But no, plenty to be excited about in the coming months. But Tallman, as Michael Benjamin would
sure.
say, you need to pump the brakes on your predictions.
My brakes are pumped.
I mean,
Well, no, you would just want to let him throw out a number, Tallman. How about it?
you want to throw out a
Don't-
record
don't
prediction?
break-
I didn't...
Don't you dare
okay.
break down each win. Just throw me a number.
Okay.
Let's see.
Okay, guys, week 1. We are in Buffalo.
He
against
said
the
don't break it
Bills.
down. He
I
said-
was doing that out of spite. Jesus Christ. All right. Okay, well, you guys like...
Hold on, okay.
chit-chat
While
real quick
Tallman is
while I go
calculating what
through
he thinks it
okay?
might be.
All right, figure it out.
I do think it's interesting though, Mike, when we're contrasting last season with this season, where we said it's funny, we said it's kind of a contrast with the Suns. We said we were more optimistic at this time last year about last year's Suns team than we are right now about next year's Suns team. I think we're probably more optimistic about this Cardinals team this coming season than we were last season. I hope that didn't get too convoluted in me explaining that. But when we look back at last season, what was it? Every sports book in the country had us losing every single game. That can't be the case this season.
It won't, and it won't be. There's some stinkers on this schedule, right? Like,
Yeah.
You think about the Carolina Panthers and the dumpster fire that they will be this season.
100%.
We've already talked about playing the top 3 quarterbacks that were drafted. Now, some of those teams are going to be surprises and be a little bit better than we think. I could say probably the Chicago Bears in that kind of case, but
they're a good team.
I have thoughts on Caleb Williams. Yeah.
You know, there's some winnable games, and the Cardinals are going to have the edge on the sports books this year because of the improvements that this team has made. Like, if you're a national pundit and you're not paying attention to what this team did at the end of last season when Kyler Murray came back, you think that he has an entire offseason program to work with Jonathan Gannon and Drew Petzing and get even more comfortable within the offense. You're going to be able to unlock more of the offense as well, adding weapons like a Marvin Harrison Jr., letting Greg Dortch be that slot guy to start a season.
Like a Zay Jones.
Adding a veteran in Zay Jones, baby. Let's go. I mean, this team has only done things
I almost pissed my pants.
to give us optimism.
Jesus Christ.
Right? But fellas,
How
the one
fuck did we go an hour? Never mind. That was the
No,
wall.
okay,
a core
That
memory
was
was
the wall.
unlocked.
That was not me farting and shitting.
A core memory was unlocked for Tallman. Shout out Vegas. Shout out
my
drama.
bad,
We know
my
that.
bad.
That's a deep cut. That's an inside
That's a
joke.
deep cut.
That's a deep cut.
Man, I mean, this is overall for all sports teams, fellas, in the Valley. I've just been burned way too many times over the past couple of years
I see your
with
scars.
having optimism. One of them is from the oven trying to pull out a pizza burn. That was from years ago.
There's one on your nose from my cat. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's true.
Yeah, there you go.
Zoom in real close. But the truth is, I'm kind of putting more cautious optimism within any team now moving forward because I'm like, I was so high on the Diamondbacks and what they did, and now everybody's dead basically. So we've fallen apart.
Well,
And
we'll
I
get
don't
into
want.
that.
We'll
We'll get
there,
into
but
that. We'll get
you-
into
But you know what I'm
man.
saying? What the Suns do last year, right? I'm optimistic. This team is going to win some damn football games this year. The goal should be to be pushing for a wild card spot for sure.
For sure.
But you have to have some cautious optimism going in after having 2 4-win seasons. That's just the truth. And I know Tallman talks about the nature of the sport, how you can go from worst to first really fast.
On
But
any given Sunday, Michael.
Arizona sports hasn't given me any of a true grace period to think that we could do it, right? You know?
So take the Valley curse out of the equation.
Okay, all right.
In the NFL right now, would you agree that this is the most parity in the league in the last 10 years? Can you move away from the mic a
I'm
little bit?
sorry, I'm trying. Fuck.
I think so. I think just because of the reshuffling that teams consistently do.
It's like the changing of the guard too. Like we see Tom Brady retire,
Right.
Ben Roethlisberger,
I
Phillip
mean,
Rivers, Drew Brees.
You can look at specifically
Drew
last
Butt.
year, right? Like the Philadelphia Eagles looked like an absolute powerhouse going into that
Yeah.
Super Bowl. They lose, and then they come out next year. They lose their offensive and defensive coordinator. They lose a whole bunch of key pieces on the defensive end, and then they're absolutely broken the second half of the season and get trounced by Tampa Bay. So that is consistently happening every year now. So
Yeah, the Eagles.
I think we're in a
though-
good spot with the NFL.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but that's what keeps you coming back with the NFL. I mean, the NFL are just absolute attention whores. I mean, the fact that you have to turn the unveiling of the schedule into such this masterpiece, like, hey, look at us, look how great. We're just gonna tell you what's gonna happen in 3 months, and the rest on, and you just have to pay attention. So
Well, and
it's
that's the
just-
thing. I don't know if I wasn't paying attention enough or it's just because I was younger, but I swear to God, like the NFL used to have a legitimate offseason where nobody really talked about what was happening in the NFL outside of the draft. And now the NFL has turned it into a year-round news cycle where there's always a story. I don't know if they've broken it up differently. I couldn't say without doing the research, but it seems like there's build up before the draft, and then
you have free agency
and free
You have the
agency,
draft.
the coaching's turnover and all that.
Yeah.
But aside from that, talking about the Arizona Cardinals specifically, like Mike, I get what you're saying where there is, we got to not get too ahead of ourselves, but at the same time, a culture isn't built overnight. And we just brought Jonathan Gannon in last season. We just brought in Monty Austin for it last season. But the amount of progress they've made in one season, I think, is tremendous because we were at rock bottom with Cliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim. That was the worst era of Cardinals football of my lifetime. Like, hands down.
Well, and you also got to go back even further than that to like the Rod Graves era, right? The Dennis Erickson. and,
yeah, sure.
Now we're throwing out deep cuts, Denny Green, that kind of stuff. Like when this team was perpetually 5-11, and you never had any kind of confidence coming into a next season that they were going to make a change. Like, this last season was the best 4-win season that we've seen in the Valley ever. And that's the damn truth.
Without a doubt.
Well, it's because those 4 wins, you beat the Cowboys, you beat the Eagles, even though they're falling apart. Who else did we beat that we weren't supposed to win?
The Steelers.
The Steelers,
yeah, and then they were going for the
Pittsburgh.
In a nasty, dirty, just grimy, like exactly how Pittsburgh is. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
but it was raining. It was raining.
The Steelers were not world beaters last season. Let's get that perfectly clear. They were rolling out Kenny Pickett.
It's hard when you don't have a quarterback.
With no quarterback.
Just like the Cardinals.
The defense was quarterback. The defense for the Steelers was tremendous, but the offense was absolute garbage.
But and it's not only from the wins that this team had, right? It was the competitive nature that this team had the entire season, even with Joshua Dobbs at the helm to start. Right? They were consistently, it seemed like, within games, obviously outside of our one-off ones, like when Clayton Tune gets thrown to the Wolves against the Browns and that kind of stuff. But if you watched this team with the lack of talent that they had to be able to compete within these games, especially the second half of the year that Kyler Murray came back.
Yep.
And you lose a game at the end of the season
that you should have won.
And praise you, Matt Prater. Like, we're thanking you at that point. But like, there were a lot of winnable games for this team last year, and they just couldn't capitalize because of their lack of talent.
What
but they
about
were
the Giants game? Giants game, we're up
once again.
That's close.
28-7.
Yeah. At halftime.
Well, yeah. I would just say the Cardinals are very comparable to our Valley Sports Plug softball team.
Oh,
it's like
that so?
No, okay.
Are you sure?
I'm not talking about that.
No, listen. Hear me out. It's like the catcher for the other team said to the umpire this last week, "Hey, at least they don't give up."
Yeah. Okay.
We don't give up.
We didn't give up.
Did I not tell you about that? Yeah.
Man,
I was going up for my at bat. I was leading off. I don't know if I was leading off, actually. I was top of the order, and I was going up to the plate, and I heard him say, like, hey, at least they don't give up. Because, guys, we are dog shit. We have not won.
Give them a back.
We have not won a single game. This is our first season.
You don't have to dox us that much, man. Come on now.
This is our first season doing... I mean... Dox us. We have a social media page. Anyway,
we're not posting the scores though.
Who started that page? Was that you, Mike?
No, that's Nico.
Our contributor, our Valley Sports Plug contributor, Nico, has started that page for us. Shout out Nico, part of the Valley Sports Plug family. But yeah,
like all the pictures on there that I'm in, I'm sitting on the bench. I guess that's where I belong.
Because you got to make plays, baby. You got to make plays.
You were channeling Blaze Alexander in the last game. You did catch a pretty slick line drive, though. But we're not here to talk about our softball team. All I'm saying is, like...
No, I'm going to go home if that's what we're going to talk about.
Even last season, through our struggles, the Arizona Cardinals showed that fight, and the culture is being built, and I'm super optimistic for where this team is heading. But, guys, there is plenty of time for us to talk about the Arizona Cardinals. Still got a couple months of the offseason. Like I said, we're going to do our predictions, probably August, and Tallman will be able to go through every game on the schedule.
I was supposed to give you mine.
Did you have your early
here's
estimation?
My early, and then you guys can compare it to how it might change in the next 3 months. But my early prediction is 8-9.
Ooh,
8-9.
That's a lot better than last year.
And going, I know I was pretty rough last year. But going through the early ones, I had them going like 0-3 to start the season. So,
yeah,
8-9 though, 8-9.
Leave your comments on the video to let's see if you agree with Tallman or not. How about that?
Yeah, you probably won't.
But there's a lot. I don't want to say there's a lot that can change. I guess not much roster construction wise can change between now and then. But we'll have to see how training camp goes, the rest of the offseason, yada, yada. We're going to talk about it. But, guys, let's keep things pushing. We only got a couple more topics left on the docket. Michael Benjamin's got to get out of here pretty soon. So
how dare you?
What the fuck? No, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Let's talk about them real briefly.
Oh, really? Do we have to?
We do, Mike. I think we got to touch on them. There are some new updates we got, and since our last Diamondbacks recap, which we do every 2 weeks, we just got that out on this last Thursday, I believe. So check that out on our YouTube page, Valley Sports Plug. Guys, again, we do a recap of the Diamondbacks every 2 weeks throughout their season. We're going to do a recap every single week for the Arizona Cardinals. I think initially I said bi-weekly, but no, every single game for the Cardinals we're breaking down. Once the Suns start back up in October, we're going to do every 2 weeks for them as well. And guys, that's going to be on our YouTube page. Those recaps don't make it onto our podcasting streams, so you got to make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. And you can check out all of our information, be up to date with everything Valley Sports Plug is doing by following us at AZ_VSP on TikTok, X.com, Instagram, Threads maybe.
What the fuck is Threads?
Threads is pretty much a dead platform. But anyway.
Yeah, get rid of that.
Not important. Anyway, guys, the Diamondbacks. Me and Tallman, we did the last recap for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and one of the big things that we talked about on there is that they need to start stacking wins. They've been hovering a little bit under or at around 500 in this early part of the season and really haven't been living up to the expectations that they have garnered, having made it to the World Series last season. A real slow start. A lot of the guys we lean on are not really producing at the level that we expect them to, primarily Corbin Carroll, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. And again, I hate to keep saying this and using it as an excuse, but this team has been injured, man. We have been hit with the injury bug early and often. Our big offseason acquisition, Eduardo Rodriguez, hasn't even taken the mound in a Diamondbacks uniform. Alec Thomas has been injured, Geraldo Perdomo, Jordan Lawler, the list goes on and on. Paul Sewald just recently came back, got a big save today against the Tigers, but we saw ourselves lose that series 2-1 against the Tigers, and that was a big series that me and Tallman identified in this last recap as a must-win. I mean, we looked at the opponents we had, the Reds, the Tigers, the Dodgers, and the Marlins, and we said that at least 3 of those series were very winnable. And now we're just 2 series into these last 2 weeks, and we've only won 1 of those series against the Reds. And it wasn't a sweep. We lost 1 game against the Reds as well. But, guys, we're looking at 2-1 against the Reds and now 1-2 against the Tigers. We're going into a tough matchup against the Los Angeles Dodgers. I guess this could be our pre-recap. What are you expecting here going forward in these next 2 series before our next recap, Tallman?
I mean, was the Tigers series just an anomaly? I don't know, dude. I mean, that's what am I expecting? I'm expecting them to not be complete dog shit, right?
Well, do you think they can win?
That is an awful. Go ahead. No, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna ask you. I guess starting 1 series at a time. Do you think they can steal 1 against the Dodgers?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But if we're gonna steal 1 from the Dodgers, there's got to be a hive of bees, and Christian Walker's gonna have to hit a walk-off home run to win it.
At 11:38.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus
in the
Christ.
night.
Yeah, I watched the entire game. It was like 11:30. No, all jokes aside, yes, we can steal 1 from them. Are we going to win that series? Probably not. But the Marlins are key, man. The Marlins are key. And then after that, we got to play a couple against the Rangers. And then you're looking at the Mets, which the Mets are a beatable team. And then we have some more division play, dude. You have the Giants coming to town, and then you're going to San Diego. So it's not necessarily getting any easier after this Marlins series. So this is where we identified, like you said, stack those wins. Reds, Tigers, fuck the Dodgers, and then the Marlins. So that was where you were hoping that this team gets to 500 or 1 or 2 over 500, and it didn't really go that way. But I don't know. I mean, it's still early in the season. I mean, we're going to talk. I mean, we've been talking and will continue to talk about injury issues and how this team is not 100% how it was constructed, because last season, I mean, it was constructed with speed and creating the chaos, right? This season, you can't argue, coming into this season, we were built around pitching, particularly starting pitching, where that late signing of Montgomery, the addition of Rodriguez, it was like, okay, well, we're going to have a absolutely killer pitching rotation. Our 5 starting pitchers are nuts, but we haven't seen the full complement of those guys. And Brandon Pfaadt's pitching his ass off, man.
He is.
Zach Gallen's doing his thing. But even on yesterday, on Saturday, you have Zach Gallen. He pitches like he should, and we can't steal the win. So the bats are cold. We got to figure that out. But I mean, I'm going to keep calling out the same guys. You know. Granted, Corbin Carroll did hit triple today, but you know we're missing his bat, particularly his power bat, dude. I mean, the guy hit over 20 home runs last season, right? But we're missing a lot from Corbin Carroll, where he's a big question mark. Where's Gurriel at? Marte and Walker are just fine, right? And then you don't have Thomas, who is sometimes a spark. I mean, that guy would hit a home run out of nowhere when you least expected it. And then Perdomo would draw a walk, or he would get a single and get on base in the 9th spot, and then he would start that spark for the top of the order to come up. Granted, we are getting good contributions from Kevin Newman. I mean, the guy went on an absolute tear like the last week.
Oh yeah,
the dude he went 4 for 4 in one of the games.
He had that walk off.
Yeah, that too. So I mean, and defensively, Kevin Newman is a stud at short. So they tried the Blaze Alexander experiment and it didn't work. So
I think he played third today.
Did he play third today?
Pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, so he's a good plug-in. He's versatile. But Newman at short is great. I mean, and his bat has just been on fire. So you get good contributions from him. And then in the outfield, I mean, you got Grichuk. Who else has been playing right field?
They don't put Jock out there, do they?
No.
He's just strictly DH.
Pretty much just DH.
Yeah, he's DH for the righties.
I think Blaze has played outfield at least once.
Yeah. So it's early, man. It is early in the season. I'm gonna blame it on health, but it is disappointing to not see them capitalize on a matchup with the Tigers. I mean, you did what you had to do against the Reds, and then you gotta hope we need a sweep against the Marlins, and we gotta steal one against the Dodgers, and then hopefully we get some of those guys back, which you're gonna probably mention who's coming back.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have guys that we're looking to have come back sooner than others. We look at a guy like Merrill Kelly, who's been a big part of that rotation the last year or so. He's not going to come back until after the All-Star break. There's really not much of a timetable for his return. I actually did talk about it a little bit, I think, in Rants Off the Top, a new stream I did this last 2 weeks ago, I think, where basically I just went and pulled up articles and was just talking about shit off the top of my head. But part of that was within Merrill Kelly and Eduardo Rodriguez. And Rodriguez's return is much sooner than Kelly's. He's ramping up, and I think we can expect him back in about a month, probably sometime in June, which is probably a little bit later than a lot of us were hoping for. But if he gets right, that still gives us maybe half of June, all of July, August, and then into September, where we can have a solid rotation going forward. Now, Kelly is a guy that, yeah, he isn't a big name in the league, but he is older. Like, he hasn't been around in the MLB a long time because he was playing overseas. But now that he's here, we did lean on him heavily last year, but we've talked about it. He's older than Madison Bumgarner. And where's Madison Bumgarner right now? Out of the fucking league. He doesn't have a fucking job. And there's probably a reason for that. And I know that guys can pitch into their late 30s, early 40s. You look at a guy like Justin Verlander, who's still in the league at 40, 41 years old.
Randy Johnson
pitched into his 40s. I mean, you even go back to like guys like Nolan Ryan and shit like that. Yeah. Like, guys can pitch into their late 30s and still be efficient and effective.
Those are some elite names.
Well, again, right? And yeah, exactly. And that's a great point. And I'm not saying Merrill Kelly is a Jason Verlander or Nolan Ryan. Not by any means. And we don't expect him to be. But at 37, 38 years old, I think we can still hope for a good season out of him should we get him back. And so again, I think all that to say, I'd rather have the injuries early than later. Now, if they come back and get re-injured again, that's a problem. But in guys that we're looking to get back in the short term, Geraldo Perdomo is about 2 weeks out on his return, so that helps shore up the infield a little bit. We can rely on him at shortstop. And Alek Thomas, he tried to come back, had a little bit of a setback, but now you were just saying, Tallman, he's taking hits again, taking at bats again in AAA.
Yeah, he started baseball activities. He had some live at bats. He got some injection. I don't have the scientific term.
What was his injury again? Was it lower body?
It was hamstring.
Yeah,
it was hamstring. It looks like he had some complications with that, so he's probably 2 to 4 weeks out. I do want to know your age shaming Merrill Kelly right now. How old did you call him?
37.
He's only 35, Chris.
Oh,
come on, man.
Well, he's still past his prime.
Yeah.
Though, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what it's like to be past your prime, right?
Tallman has told me once you pass 30, you're past your prime.
Could be the truth, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for any sport.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
For any sport, that might be true.
Yeah.
But I don't know, guys. I more aside from the injuries, I look at this roster and our struggles are deeper than that. You look at this bullpen and it's not the same bullpen we saw even in the playoff run and World Series run we had last year. Kevin Ginkel, we were expecting a huge season from him, and what has he done? Shit the bed repeatedly. Miguel Castro, we always knew he was a bit of a asterisk, and like you really don't know what you're going to get from him week in and week out. Paul Sewald, he's been injured. He's coming back. He got a save today. But in his first game back off of injury, he gave up a home run. I don't know if he blew the save, but I'm pretty sure we lost that game. Or no. I take that back. We won that game because it was in a safe situation. We were up significantly. Yeah. You're right.
We're not. I don't think we're up significantly, but yeah,
we were up enough to where it wasn't.
He still closed out the game. Yeah, we didn't lose.
Yeah. And again, like we talked about on that last recap, the Diamondbacks went 6 of 6, I think it was, so even 500. And I mean, if that's the pace we're gonna tow, it's gonna be really hard for us to steal that wild card spot, especially with how competitive the NL has been this year.
I think the thing that kills me too is we're just not seizing the opportunities to win some of these series, right? Yeah, I think back to the Baltimore series where Kevin Ginkel gives up that home run in the 8th specifically, right? I mean, yeah, and it's a tough look. I know that Tariq Skubal is probably going to be the starter for the AL in the All-Star game, right? Like he's been the best pitcher in the AL, I would say. And he could have pitched more than 6 innings on Friday, but to come out that flat after a day off, like, man, it's almost like when it rains, it pours with this team right now. I will not throw shade at the bullpen as much, Chris, because I think Ryan Thompson has been absolutely stellar over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Paul Sewald coming back is getting his footing back under him as well after giving up a home run in his first appearance, that kind of stuff. But it's the starting pitching, man. Like
100%.
There's nowhere to go right now because of the injuries, right? You can't call up these guys that are sitting waiting in the wings because those guys are already here. Like Slade Ciccone and Ryan Nelson were supposed to be the guys to fit in for those injuries.
Yeah, and what did Ryan Nelson do on Friday?
He was horrible.
Awful. He was did he have 11? Eight earned runs. He had 8 earned runs.
8 earned runs, like 11 hits through 4. Yeah. He was absolutely horrible. But Slade Ciccone has been pitching well through the the order, and then the batters get the read on him, and the game is over.
The second time they see him,
it's almost like we have to win games only with our big main pitchers right now because like we can't rely on these other starting pitchers. And even yesterday, Zach Gallen is no runs through 6. We finally scratch out 2, and then we lose the game. Like not getting enough run support, too many mental mistakes out in the field, a lot of weird errors still. But there's also some like, I don't know if you guys have been like, I normally listen to the games. I don't really watch as much. I'll listen on 98.7, but there's all these like weird little squib hits going through the left side when we have a shift over in Eugenio Suarez's, or these little dribblers over the second baseman's head. Like we're catching the wrong end of breaks right now when we need to be going on the other side and start, like you said, start stacking these wins. Now, June, the outset does look a little bit more exciting. So my hope is we're doing opposite of what we did last year, right? We started off super hot, and then July came around and we absolutely sucked.
Yep.
Like we got the Mets coming up, we got White Sox, we got the Angels, like some lower level teams. And you also get to play the Padres and the Giants, who are sitting right in front of you.
Yeah.
So June is going to be the big test, I think, for me to see where this team really sits and if they're ready and poised to go back to the playoffs.
And that's perfect timing for our guys getting healthy too, right? When you talk about Perdomo and Thomas coming back, you got Eduardo Rodriguez coming down the pipe, and even Merrill Kelly later on. I think, again, I will double down on I'd rather have the injuries early than late. And so I that's great, Mike. Like I totally see that, where it's like it's inverse of what happened last year. You know, I would rather they catch fire at the right time and continue that momentum, through the rest of the season and make a push to get that wild card spot. Because let's be honest, we're not winning the division. We've known that. We've known that from the start. We knew that last season. We know that this season. Our only path to the playoffs is through the wild card. And so stacking those wins and giving yourself the best opportunity you can is our only route right now. The Dodgers are just on an absolute tear, and I hope we can steal at least one from them in this upcoming series. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. But man, is that team rolling right now. I guess, guys, I don't want to spend too much time on the D-backs. We just did a recap last week, so make sure you go and check that out on our YouTube page. But Tallman, is there anything else you wanted to say about the D-backs?
Yeah, no, it's I mean, what I'm hoping for is, I mean, you nailed it, where take the injuries early rather than late, and you just hope that this team can squeak into a wild card, and you hope that they can get that same identity that they had last season, where it was nobody wanted to play this team, right?
Sure.
And it came to fruition where it's like, no, you didn't want to play this team because this team's going to beat you. And it was proven. We went to the fucking World Series. So, I mean, you just hope that we can get to our full strength. I'm just waiting for the time. So what I'm going to do is when I leave here, I'm going to go stop at the store. I'm going to buy a bottle of champagne, okay? So the first time that I can see Zach Gallen, Rodriguez, Montgomery, Merrill Kelly, and Brandon Pfaadt all pitch in 5 games in a row, I'm going to pop that bottle of champagne, okay? Because that's going to be an exciting time for this team that we can finally get those 5 guys together. And that's key right now. It's crucial to the success of this team because we need those guys back. There was a reason why you're paying Montgomery $25 million. There's a reason why you signed Eduardo to that deal and you gave him all that money. Like, you need these key guys back in, and starting pitching wins you games, okay? Like, there's no doubt about it. I mean, granted, it didn't happen yesterday, Mike, but that's what's great about having an ace like Zay Jones. Zay Jones. Fuck it. Diamondbacks. Go get Zay Jones. He can get you a win. But no, that's what's great about when you're struggling. You have a 2-3 game losing streak, and then Zach Gallen comes up, and you go, boom. Okay, we're gonna win this game, right? Because we have an ace. We have an ace in Zach Gallen, and this team has a chance to have 4 aces on their staff. But we need to get it together. We need to get it right, and that's it. I'm getting the champagne. That's it.
Well, and we might have to make a little TikTok of that and post it on our page.
Yeah, there you go.
Along with the Heat Check Challenge, which we're going to do right after this recording, where we take a shot on, I know you probably can't see it in the shot, but there's a little mini hoop right here behind me, and we've been keeping track almost every, I mean, Michael Benjamin missed a Heat Check podcast, but every time all 3 of us are in the studio for a Heat Check podcast, we do the Heat Check Challenge. We're keeping track throughout the year. I think right now VSP Tallman is in the lead.
I'm killing you guys.
2 to 3.
I don't know.
1,
Go to our
1,
TikTok
3.
and see.
I got 3. I got 3.
Make sure you check it out. You'll be able to see the official. But yeah, we'll have to get that shot of you popping the champagne once we finally get all those 5 guys back. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think that'll be until a little bit later in this summer.
Probably not.
Might be a little while. And praying to God that the guys that we do have successful, like Zach Gallen and Brandon Pfaadt, can stay healthy. And it is bold of you saying that Brandon Pfaadt is an ace, I will say.
I said 4.
You said 4?
Yeah.
So Merrill Kelly is an ace. I still think that's bold.
Yes, he is. Merrill Kelly was better than Zach Gallen in the playoffs last season.
Yeah, sure.
He was our ace. Remember when we sat there, we're like, okay, do we really have 2 aces, or is it just Merrill Kelly that is our ace? We had that discussion.
We did, because Zach Gallen
struggled.
He was
struggled.
He's still inconsistent, I would say.
Well, he's been the most consistent, which I guess
that's not saying much, right?
Will happen due to availability, of course. But all
right, but like I said,
yes, Merrill Kelly is definitely he might be a Walmart ace, but he's an ace,
sure, without a doubt. Well, I think we'll probably
Okay.
Gets the job done.
We have no recap for the Diamondbacks coming out this week. That'll be next week because it is every 2 weeks. So this week might be able to do a round table, and I'm sure we'll talk some more baseball then. But guys, without doing any more plugs or talking about the D-backs, let's finish up this 29th episode of the Heat Check podcast here in the Valley Sports Plug Studio B in the East Valley of the... Is this still the Valley? I don't care. It doesn't matter.
He don't care.
We don't talk about this too much. It's usually just me and Tallman leading the charge on this topic, but golf. We got to talk about golf.
Oh, all right. Can we? Okay, Mike. Tell the people, when was the last time you made a bet? Sports bet.
Damn you, Xander
Schauffele.
What'd you call
You know what's
him?
funny though?
Schauffele.
No, you said Schauffele. Schauffele.
Hey, I will say, I did prep you guys before we did place the bet. I said, watch, he'll come out on 18 and hit a birdie. Did I not say that?
You did. You did.
And then Tallman was the one who said, oh, but the payout's not good enough. It's minus 350 for Schauffele Schauffele.
Dude,
Schauffele. Xander Schauffele.
Schauffele.
Sorry, Xander. You're a PGA Tour champion.
Oh, you said the tour part.
Whatever. And it was
PGA champion.
PGA champion.
Plus 250 for Bryson. What a putt on 18 he had there, too. It barely rolled in, man. That was beautiful.
To tie it up, become co-leader of the tournament.
But that was the first true bet that I've placed since the Super Bowl.
Wow. All right.
Okay, so anyway, guys, we're watching the end of the PGA championship at Valhalla, and there's like 3 holes left. Mike's like, we should bet on this, and then he made us all bet on it.
I didn't
Bryson
make
DeChambeau to
anybody
win.
do anything.
Yes, you did.
I bet
Yes.
on it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
okay.
sure we bet on it after DeChambeau had already finished his round.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
after Bryson tied it at 20 under, then we bet on it, and then of course Schauffele hits his drive, has to hit his second shot with his feet in the bunker, but he still, God damn it, my wife's calling me, but he still was able to make
can
birdie,
answer it.
and then you want to?
No.
Okay, that's right. All right. But he was still able to make birdie and then win the tournament,
Yeah.
and then we lost our bet. So thanks, Mike. That was really nice.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you didn't force us to, but I'm not going to sit next to somebody and they're like, I'm placing money on this. And I'm like,
What?
fucking
Well,
dude.
okay.
You'd be like, where's the crack at?
In all fairness,
Bullshit. Come
we
on.
we all wanted to see the playoff.
Yes, we
Yes,
did.
we
100%.
18 at Valhalla was the easiest rated hole of the course
On the par
Wasn't
5,
the-
yeah.
on the par 5.
Easiest handicap.
Well, because you
wasn't
can lay up
easy
after the
handicap.
second shot. That's if you're a professional, you should be.
Yeah, there's plenty of layup space, and even like you said, we saw Xander not hit a great drive, and ended up right on the lip of that bunker, but then hit it out right to the edge of the green, was able to chip it on within probably 10 feet of the hole, if not less than that, maybe less than that, and it's crazy. Like the putt was very similar to the putt that Bryson DeChambeau had just nailed right before then, but it's funny because the guy that was paired up with DeChambeau, was it Hovland?
Victor Hovland.
Victor Hovland, he struggled. We saw him like bogey. I'm pretty sure he bogeyed that hole. He missed his short putt, lipped out, hit another one,
Yeah.
lipped out, and then finally
Yeah, he
nailed it.
3
bogeyed.
Now,
putt at the
Yeah.
end, yep.
his shots were pretty much blown at that point. But at the time, before he even before any of those guys even hit their putts, we were potentially looking at a 3-way playoff, depending on how the things broke down. Now, that's neither here nor there. The real story of the tournament and the weekend was what happened with Scottie Scheffler on Friday morning.
Oh, man.
Oh, goodness. I'm going to lean heavy on you here, Tallman. But essentially, my understanding is that Scottie was trying to get into the course for the morning and get ready for the tournament, and there was some type of fatality, some bad accident that happened up the road. So they had the roads all kind of closed down around Valhalla. And his lawyer said he was arrested. Let's not jump ahead. Scottie Scheffler was arrested. He was taken to jail, had a mugshot, and swiftly posted bond and was released, and still played that day and hit 5 under. Had a great day at the tournament. But the stories around it are kind of sketchy and convoluted, where his lawyer is saying all comes down to a miscommunication. One of the officers on the scene gave him the go-ahead to go ahead and pull into the clubhouse. Another officer took it upon himself to try and stop Scottie Scheffler, claiming that he was dragged and that his $80 pants were destroyed in the process.
Beyond repair. So that officer is out of $80 pants, allegedly. They're on the scenes reportings where bystanders are saying that the officer actually just slipped and he wasn't actually the officers was it his statement on what happened is the officer said he reached into Scheffler's car and was drugged by his car, and I think that the assault on the officer or whatever is what resulted in the arrest. I'm Tallman, correct me here, am I on the right path in explaining the situation? Yeah. Well, first, I mean, try to pull up what he got charged with.
I don't have my phone.
He got, sorry, my bad. He got charged with a felony, right? It was a second degree aggravated assault on a police officer. So you're right. There's so many different opinions on what happened. Scheffler's being one that he even said at the tournament, he said, I'm very confident that this is going to work out and be, not that big of a deal in the next couple of days. He's got to show up in court on Tuesday. That's for sure. But But yeah, I mean, he's getting charged. I think he had 4 or 5 different charges.
I think
it was
so,
like
yeah, from what I
reckless
saw.
driving.
Okay, I got him.
All right, read them off, please.
It was second-degree assault of a police officer.
That's a felony.
That's the felony. Then there was criminal mischief,
misdemeanor,
reckless driving, and disregarding signals from an officer directing traffic.
Yeah. So, man, this.
Okay, so I want to emphasize Scottie Scheffler was in a PGA Tour provided vehicle,
Yes.
and he was wearing his credentials, presented his credentials. So having all the information that I have, of course, not have being there. I'm in Arizona. This took place in Louisville, Kentucky. It sounds like this officer was not fully understanding of the situation, and maybe I'm going to take a leap here. I think this officer is in the wrong. I think he was trying to. I think the police report is also misleading.
I'm with you. The police report is misleading. I mean, to sit there and say, and again, it's the Louisville Police Department. Go Google Louisville Police Department. They don't have a great track record, right? I'm not saying that there's some inside corruption. By no means is that at all what I'm getting.
Well, no,
at.
okay, not saying corruption, but his body camera wasn't even on.
Yeah,
during
so
the
that
interaction.
is the most controversial thing here is it just came out I think this morning or yesterday that there's no body cam footage of his arrest, right? So the arresting officer, I forgot, we don't need to say his name.
I don't give a shit.
There's
Officer dumb fuck.
There's no body cam footage. So that right there, granted, there's a lot of bystanders that took video of it because they saw. I mean, there's a handful of people that worked for ESPN that saw Scottie Scheffler getting arrested and ran out and fucking filmed it because why not? That's incredible journalism. That is something that you can turn around and make a lot of money off of. So, of course, there's a lot of videos. There's some fixed camera that caught some of the arrest. Fixed camera being somewhere stationary on a building that was filming on the area where it occurred, where that's going to be released in the coming weeks. But there's no body cam footage. So what's probably going to happen is just going to get dropped. There's a lot of people saying the officer was not hit by the car, was not drugged down by the car, that he simply slipped and fell because it's rainy. And there's also people coming out and saying, well, maybe Scheffler didn't know he was actually a police officer. Where in the report it says he was in full police officer uniform, but he was wearing one of those bright green reflective
vest
raincoats.
Oh, okay.
So why is he wearing a raincoat? Because it's raining, okay? So that explains why he slipped and fell. So it could have been, people are saying Scheffler was like, okay, well, this guy's not a cop. He's just a traffic attendant or security guard type. So maybe
staff of the course.
So
or
maybe the
something, yeah.
police officer did not fully identify himself as an officer of the law, right? And it's funny because after Scheffler finished that round on Friday, they showed him walking off 18, and there was like 3 or 4 cops standing right there, and he shook all their hands.
No shit.
Yeah, it was great. It was funny. It was funny as hell. And then just so to clear it up though, it's like we were joking. We're not joking. Okay, so somebody lost their life. There was a vendor or a staff member of somebody working on the event that was hit by a bus trying to cross the street. So somebody did die, but like we were talking about earlier, Scottie Scheffler did not drive through the scene of a death. He did not do anything egregious like that.
And his lawyer made that very clear.
Yeah, it was, hey, I'm Scottie Scheffler. I'm the number 1 golfer in the world right now. I have to go tee off in an hour and a half in a major championship. You know, like I can't sit here, right?
I got to get to work. He was going to his
exactly.
job.
So
yeah.
it was miscommunication, which is what Scheffler did say, and that's simply what it was. Maybe it was miscommunication on Scottie's side, the police officer's side. I mean, but this is being blown out of proportion. And the funniest part about it though was the pants being damaged beyond repair. It's like anytime I eat Mexican food, my pants are damaged beyond repair. So it's. I don't know. It's crazy. I mean, but you can't. And then my wife said this to me too, because we were talking about it and she saw it on social media. Obviously, everybody saw it. It was everywhere. She probably doesn't really. She doesn't know who Scottie Scheffler really is when it comes to golf, right? I mean, he's the number 1 player in the world, which is what I already mentioned. Where she's like, it's so sad that just because this famous guy gets arrested that it totally overshines the person that lost their life, which she's absolutely right. It's
true.
You know, it's sad that somebody, you know, unfortunately passes away from an accident, and the only thing we do is sit here and talk about how a millionaire golfer got arrested for doing some stupid traffic violation. You know?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But at the same time, in a weird, probably shitty way, I think it also shines more light on the guy that lost his life than we might have otherwise heard about. It probably would have been a news story that was local more than national.
Yeah.
Whereas within Kentucky, they would have talked about it more than it would have been talked about broadly. So of course, rest in peace to that man. A terrible tragedy. But again, Scottie Scheffler didn't drive through a crime scene. His lawyer made that perfectly clear. He said that if they don't drop, basically his lawyer said in his press conference that if they don't drop the charges, they're fully prepared to take this to trial, as I think they should. And not to make this into a broader conversation about policing in America or any opinions on that. We're not a political podcast. We're a sports podcast. I just think from my perspective is body camera footage and having officers wear body cameras are, not only does it protect the public, it protects the officer as well. And so to not have your body camera on is a dereliction of duty, and you're not doing your job properly.
Yes.
So right away, off the top, dismissed. Whatever, it's he said, she said, or in this case, he said, to where the officer has no foot to stand on, especially when you talk about conflicting bystander eyewitness accounts, as well as ESPN and other people that were on site. I just think this is complete and utter bullshit, and there are much more serious in police interactions and topics in general that we can talk about. So I agree with you and your wife, Tallman. Like, it does take away from the tragedy that was this man losing his life, but also it speaks to the ineptitude of the Louisville Police Department in a lot of ways.
Yes, it does.
Where, like the lawyer said, it was a miscommunication where I think some reports where one officer gave him the go-ahead to drive through, and this other officer took it upon himself to try and be head honcho and stop Scottie Scheffler from getting to work to do his job.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate. Mike, what do you got?
I mean, you guys touched on it. I don't know enough of the situation, obviously, other than the headlines that I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, go to trial. If they don't drop charges, that's your due diligence to protect yourself within that situation. I 100% agree as well. How do we not have the body cam footage in 2024? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But
it
I
should
guess
be standard practice.
I'll transition back to the golf
please.
aspect of it. The man gets arrested.
That was Louisville PD.
Oh,
Gets
wow.
his mugshot taken and
You remember
comes
that?
out
Oh, yeah.
and shoots 5 under par.
Yeah.
Talk about a man who is not rattled within any situation. That's impressive, honestly.
That is some thug
And that's
life
why
shit.
he's the best golfer in
Yeah.
the world right now, man.
Yeah, no, that was gangster.
I love
Hey, hold on a second.
No, go, please.
Let us know in the comments if we should start some kind of new show where Tallman heads golf, because I feel like we should do that. I think the people might want something
No.
like that.
Hole in
No?
one with VSP Tallman.
Yeah, right. Well, it's
I
just
love
great
it.
because golf is one of those sports where, like, it's not just about the sport. Like, there's always so much drama behind it. Like the whole live.
Oh, the bifurcation
dynamic
of the two major leagues.
Yeah, where it's just like there's so much behind the scenes and just crazy shit. And I don't know, man. It's. I mean, you could have a podcast just on Tiger Woods alone, like the shit that guy went through in his life, the legal problems he had.
Hey,
Personal problems he had.
all I know
the marriage
is the
issues.
bunker to bunker guys are
Yeah, there you
getting
go.
a little bit up
It's
there.
the bunker to bunker golf show.
If somebody should take
Saturday
over the
mornings.
mantle, why not it be VSP Tallman?
Oh,
Let's
man.
go, baby.
I like it. Honestly, I like it. Tallman, if you want to pursue that endeavor, we can launch a live stream and add it into the live stream mix.
I'll
No,
moderate it for you.
I'm
I
not
can just sit in the
allowed.
back.
I'm not allowed to do it until I can shoot under 90.
It's not about how good we do. It's just
No.
how much we can comment on
No,
it.
if I can shoot better
Tallman,
than a 90.
do you know most golfers golf over 100?
Yes.
We golf under 100. We're capable of golfing under 100.
Oh, yeah,
There's
we're
the key.
capable.
There's the key switch right
There you
there.
go. I think the last time I played, I shot like a 102.
No, I think
That's right there.
I think I'm pretty consistently in the 90s these days, and so are you.
Yeah,
Like-
well, if we go play the small course at Bear Creek, then yeah, I could shoot under 100.
No, but even here in Santan Valley, we've done decently on this course.
I suppose.
I don't know. Obviously, our skill.
We're not playing no PGA rules.
No,
though, dude.
we're not playing blacks, and our skill set aside, I think we're still able to comment.
And I'll hit like
golf.
2 into the houses, like I'm gonna hit another one. You're like, sure, go for it. That's my first shot.
Oh,
Even though I hit 2, I fucking broke some dude's window and then broke a couple roof tiles. But
hey, that's how it goes, man. That's how it goes. But guys, this was the 29th episode of the Heat Check podcast. We're going to keep bringing you a Heat Check podcast every single month, each year, every year, throughout the year.
Each year. Every single year.
This is like our third year of Valley Sports Plug since we relaunched, and it's been going amazing. Make sure you follow us at AZ_VSP on Instagram, TikTok, X.com. Basically, just type in Valley Sports Plug Arizona on Google, and you can find all of our links. But guys, I want to give you the floor. Mike, I'll start with you first. Is there anything else you want to say about happenings in the Valley?
No, always a pleasure to come out here with you fellas and chop it up when it comes to AZ Sports. Lots of things in the off season right now. Obviously, we're getting to the dog days of summer.
Yep.
The heat is coming in the Valley as well.
The heat is on.
But hey, we're gonna have a great summer, fellas. I can feel it.
There you go.
Tallman, what you got?
Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah,
God
go ahead.
Damn it. All right. All I got to say is stay tuned. If any of you guys are watching, you better be praying that we get our full rotation back for the Diamondbacks, because you're going to want to see this champagne unveiling. And if you want to be a part of it, just DM my manager. He can arrange it for you. I don't have a manager.
Your manager's going to give you champagne showers?
Yeah.
Champagne.
Champagne.
God damn it. I was hoping you guys wouldn't say
Goddamn champagne.
Motherfuckers. But guys, what do you got? I'm cutting you off.
I was going to say some more bullshit anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So just take it away from me.
Cut the feed.
Cut it.
Get the fuck off the mic.
Now, we're about to record the Heat Check Challenge, so make sure you head over to TikTok, check out how that goes. I think Tallman's up right now. He is winning, but that could change. We're about halfway through the year, got some time left. Guys, appreciate you so much for being here. I'm Chris Patrick for VSP Tallman and Michael Benjamin. We'll see you next time.